Long term in the Big 12, everybody might be trying to chase Texas Tech. Can anybody actually catch them?
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest, craziest sport on planet Earth. It's an all Big 12 kind of show, and we've got Jake Hatch of Locked On BYU, Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Cougs, and Richie Bradshaw of Locked On Sun Devils, and they're all brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So, gentlemen, you may think whatever you like of my premise, but in a world in which everyone can spend up to $20.5 million now with the House settlement, assuming the courts say that's okay, and in a world where NIL is a big factor in college football, kind of feels to me like Texas Tech is positioned to not just ascend to the top of the conference, but to remain there and just have the ability to outspend everybody else, to out-recruit everybody else. But maybe, Jake Hatch, maybe BYU would have something to say about that. Maybe. You tell me.
Okay, BYU would like to have something to say about it because they've been flush with cash for multiple years now, and all they've gotten is a bunch of blowback from other Big 12 squads about how much money they're throwing around. So, yeah, BYU would like to have a say in terms of maybe being near the top, if not at the top of the conference. But I'm genuinely curious, Spencer, to see what these new rules with this House settlement, how they really do impact NIL deals and the like, and if they really do have the teeth that certain people claim they have, that could knock BYU down a peg. I can acknowledge that.
Jake is just confident because he has a mic cover that says Locked On Cougars. That's the only reason that he's talking a big game. But the reason I look at Texas Tech, they're recruiting well. They're inside the top 25 right now in the class of 2026. They have actually only the fourth best class at the moment in the Big 12 overall. But in the 25 cycle, they brought in one of the 5 best transfer classes in the country. That is something I've talked about a lot here in the offseason on my show because that's a big deal. That's a big deal when you have a sport where everyone talks about how the Big 10 and the SEC are way ahead, and justifiably so. They're so far ahead and they're so much more talented, and all of a sudden, give me the list of SEC schools that Texas Tech out-recruited in the portal, and it's suddenly a really, really long list. Jake, do you think BYU could get to that sort of level one day?
They'd like to. I know they have a bunch of boosters who want nothing more than to see BYU competing among the nation's elite. And if that takes spending money to do so, they're in it to win it. And that's the nice part is they've got a bunch of boosters who are they have hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars in the bank, much like the Texas Tech Brain Trust. And if they can really bring that to bear, as they already have shown in previous recruiting classes, they will absolutely have a shout for it.
The three Big 12 schools represented here, Parker, only one's got a 5-star committed. Man, it's Keisan Henderson. He's going to play for the Houston Cougars. None of this Cougar tail nonsense. I kid. BYU fans have had a Cougar tail. It's quality.
They're pretty good. I will say this much, though. I feel like Houston's got to keep getting quarterbacks because that's the more – you and I get to talk when they have quarterbacks. We talk when Connor Wegman committed. We talk when Keisan Henderson committed. It's about the only time Spencer and I get to talk, apparently. I do feel like Houston gets overlooked in this in a big way. Keyshawn's doing a great job with their career share right now, serving as a recruiter, not just as a quarterback, bringing in 4-star guys on visits, getting on the gushy, treating with pictures and props and retweets and all that kind of chaos behind the scenes too in DMs. I feel like what's interesting about Houston though is they basically drawn a 2-hour radius around the city, maybe 2.5, and said, hey, we're just trying to dominate this. And what's funny when you bring up SEC schools is they're also trying to get inside that 2.5-hour radius. Like it's such a prime real estate for football, Wegman and Keyshawn included, that like people want what we've got. And he's just like, hey, let's just stay here and play with the city on our chest. We're all good, right? That's the big sales pitch. Obviously, NIL dollars do play some role. Obviously, House settlement dollars play some role too. But there's home cooking is home cooking. Playing for your hometown is playing for your hometown in a Power 4 conference. It's hard to beat all of that.
Yeah, one of the reasons I highlight Tech as well is, hey, they can become a real power is look at the talent they've got in their backyard. They don't have to go that far to find elite college football talent. If suddenly they can pay with the best of the best, well then, hey, you can do that in the long run. So we've got a bunch of NIL booster money for BYU. We've got two 5-star quarterbacks, really.
Wait till this weekend. BYU's got a 5-star coming on campus, and Ryder Lyons going to be a Cougar. I'm saying it right now.
Oh, Jake's really confident.
I'm not going to say any names. I want to give kids a chance to say their things online on their own, but I'm not going to say. Houston's doing very well.
So Houston's got 5 stars. BYU's got all sorts of money. Might get Ryder Lyons, and ASU has Richie Bradshaw. And you know what? Let that be enough, right, Richie?
Is that enough, though, Spencer? Is that enough?
Well, I mean, that depends on what your expectations are for the sleeping giant that is Arizona State. I did not bring you 3 on to debate this by accident. This was not an accident by any stretch.
All right, defending champ, let's go.
Well, here in always sunny, 112-degree Phoenix, Arizona, the Valley, as we love to call it, there's a lot of talent all over the place. Arizona, as a state, has a lot of high school talent that trickles throughout the country. In fact, I was looking at this the other day. I was like, you know what? I would love to just see how many good football players have come out of Arizona high school over the last 20 years. And it's guys that I would have never connected with the state, like Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in football, kid from Tucson, Arizona. There's a lot of really good football players that come out of the state as a whole. And Arizona State, for a very long time, had a very strong grasp on keeping those kids home. If you look at recruiting classes from 2016 to the 2000s, a lot of these kids stay in state. But since then, a lot of them end up going elsewhere. And now ASU, who has been on the downswing of recruiting for a little while, is starting to realize, hey, there's a lot of really good kids that are in our backyard that are leaving. And we need to start changing that. And in comes Kenny Dillingham, who creates the hashtag Activate the Valley movement and wanting to keep the kids home. But then you're also still understanding, hey, Southern California is not that far from us, and Texas is a stone's throw away from us. So they're attacking all over the place to get better at recruiting, keeping guys home, bringing guys in. And ASU is just trending up. They attack the transfer portal well. They start winning football games, and now you're in a point where, hey, these kids are not just being told things are changing in Arizona. They're seeing that things are changing in Arizona. And I want to be a part of that. So let's stay home. Let's stay home and be a part of Arizona State and see if the rest of that can start catching up with everything. But, I mean, you've got the talent in your backyard, and you're in a really good spot where you can recruit Southern California. You can recruit Texas. They just plucked a kid out of Georgia this recruiting cycle. They're able to start just getting all over the place. So as long as they continue building that brand and identifying who they are through Kenny Dillingham's vision, then yeah, you're in a great spot right now.
Parker wants to chime in so badly he's going to bite his pen out of his hand.
Well, and I debated saying this because I do have family in Lubbock that I'm planning on sleeping on a couch later this month. But I will say advantage that we all have, everyone in this chat has, is that we live near Phoenix. We live near Salt Lake City. We live in Houston. None of that is Lubbock. And as someone who has family there, I can tell you right now, that's a win for everyone here.
Whoa.
It's a big, you talk about recruiting your backyard, but you can stand on one side of Lubbock and wave to the other.
Right now,
yeah. Let's go to Chris in Lubbock. By the way, I just like to point this out as the host of this particular program. I have ventured to Lubbock, Texas myself, and I enjoyed my time there a great deal. There is a wonderful golf course not far from campus where I went. I was not far from Lubbock Christian University, a premier Division II school athletics-wise, and that Texas Tech golf course, one of my favorites. One of my favorites that I have played. So I'm going to ask all these guys a question that's going to make their blood boil to an extent, just to an extent. I'm not going to let it go overboard. I'm just kidding. Of course I am. First, this episode brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fan losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you got to experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton has been incredible time and again. And if you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, which are awesome, no surprise fees, which is even better, Game Time is a total game changer. I've used Game Time multiple times myself. I've been to a sporting event, I've been to a comedy show, all sorts of stuff, and it works great. You get a great deal, it gets delivered to your phone, you know what to expect. That's why you check out Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so which of you guys, BYU, Houston, and Arizona State, is the best position to have that sort of talent acquisition ascension that we saw from Texas Tech this offseason? Oh, look, Jake Hatch is already overconfident. What do you know? What do you know? Okay. Jake, go. Okay, here's how this is going to go. Each of you is going to have the opportunity, 2 minutes, unfiltered. Everybody else's mic will be muted. And you'll have the ability to make your case for your school, and then I will respond with why you're wrong. But yeah, you go ahead, Jake. You fire away.
All right. So first off, here's the thing with.
Oh, I muted Jake on accident. I didn't mean to do that.
He doesn't even want me to talk. You're not even talking here. No, here's the thing about BYU. I already talked about because they've got boosters who are very motivated and want to help BYU reach the pinnacle. They won that national championship in 1984, and there are multiple generations of Cougar fans since then who want to see BYU get back to that level. And with NIL the way it's been, BYU believes that they can bring the cash to really equalize the field. Now, the biggest thing for BYU is if you look at the 2026 recruiting rankings for 24/7 Sports, BYU may be ranked in the middle of the class in terms of just having 11 commits right now. But if you go by average ranking, the average rating from 24/7 Sports, BYU is the top Big 12 school with an average rating of 88.14, if my math is correct. So they are already ascending. They got 2 4-stars already committed in this class. They got 5-star talents like a Ryder Lyons coming to campus this weekend. They're going to boast more than 20 different prospects, multiple 4-stars, a 5-star, and high-level 3-stars this weekend on one recruiting visit alone. And the Cougars, they really think that they can make some noise coming off an 11-2 campaign last year. Yes, I know there's questions around Jake Gretzloff right now, and if they can follow up last year's success this year, that's TBD. But on the recruiting trail, they have absolutely done some impressive work in building, I think, is a sustainable model of Kalani Sitake saying, yeah, we've got NIL cash, but at the same time, if you're coming just for a check, this is not a program for you. It means more than just a payday to come and play for BYU football. You represent more than that. Come and have some pride, play for the letters on your chest, and let's go have some success along the way.
What a pitch. What a pitch. That was really, really good, except for the part where you guys ever hear the term served on a silver platter? Have you ever heard that one before? Jake has brought a wonderful souffle on a silver platter and handed it to Parker because the average highest rated recruit per player in the Big 12 actually belongs to the Houston Cougars, who are just ahead of BYU at 88.86 compared to their 88.14, which is second.
Ryder Lyons commits, and then we're flying right past that. Let's go.
Yeah, well, that hasn't happened as we record this show, so for all intents and purposes, it hasn't happened at all.
I've literally
it sure has helped basketball, hasn't it, buddy?
It has.
Are you talking basketball? Wait, can we talk basketball? You want to do that right
now? No. Football. Locked on college football with Spencer McLaughlin. That's the show.
I'm enjoying needling the Oregon side of Spencer McLaughlin with the Ryder Lions.
I don't know of this Oregon side. I am neutral arbiter of all things college football. I always have been.
Oh, look, my Final Four zip up. Can you see that? Is that showing up well? Oh, sorry.
No, actually, it's not.
Not on that show.
You could have told me that was a knockoff brand from a foreign country of anything, and I would have believed you. But anyways,
I think Shade wants to talk to you about that, though, bud.
So anyway, Parker, the floor will be yours now, and I'll mute the correct mics this time so you can make the pitch why Houston is best poised to be the best recruiting school in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think it's simple. You got Willie Fritz has always pitched development. He's got the system from Tulane and prior where he gets guys and can have a track where he says, like, look, I can take you and turn you into that. I can take you as a 5'9" running back and make you Tajay Spears. I can make you as a quarterback that people don't think can play quarterback, Keisan Henderson, and make you an all-conference, all-American, future pro like Michael Bishop, who he had at Blinn here in college, right? He has all of that. He has all the guys in his backyard, as I said in the first segment. I also feel like, as you mentioned, he's got the best position in sports right now. It's the most important position in sports locked down. Not to mention he's got Austin Carlisle from class 2025. Not to mention he's got Connor Wegman from the transfer portal to play right away. He's got the best quarterback in the state of Texas, which I don't know if you guys have heard. It's a pretty good high school football state, locked up, ready to go. This is currently a numbers game, right? They just don't have many recruits. Keisan just canceled the rest of his visits last week. This is a very present tense conversation in July once these guys come through. They've already got at least 4 4-star wide receivers scheduling visits since Keisan canceled his other visits to come to campus. Like, they want to play with the guy. His energy's electric. The raccoon skin cap, if you haven't seen it yet, is like, it's just very like singular focus. Like, look at this like blossoming like flower light kind of guy. Like, it's very focused at the center point of it. It's all coming together at once. It's happening much faster than it did at Tulane. And we're operating with like Fertitta money and stuff like that. But we've also seen like in 2015-16 H-Town takeover when they beat Florida State in the Peach Bowl. Once this thing gets rolling, it takes a lot to make it stop. It did stop, but once it gets rolling, it can really start rolling again. That team, again, they lost 1 game in 2 years. This is not a crazy concept.
Not bad. Not bad. I don't know that I've been, swooned over properly by either of our first 2 pitches to this point, which leaves the door open for you, Richie. Because unlike Keisan Henderson, I'm not shutting down my recruitment here. I'm very much open. I'm taking visits. I'm not verbally committed anywhere, and I'm going to a variety of schools. So now we'll and by the way, Richie, if I could just give a piece of friendly advice, because I consider you a friend and a colleague. I don't know if it's selling a city to point out it's 112 degrees.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you like the cold weather?
Can we define cold?
Do you like shoveling snow?
Well, I don't like. I don't.
You're never shoveling snow down here in Phoenix, Arizona.
But that in and of itself is a stronger pitch than getting specific to the degrees, because 112.
It's part of the year. Rest of the year, you're feeling pretty good outside. A lot of pretty golf courses.
Just go to the mountains for training camp. It's that hot in the valley. Come on now,
brother.
Yeah.
You will trade a few hot months of the year for great weather the rest of the year. But I'll tell you what. You want to know why you come to Arizona State?
Okay, you go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, that'd be great if Jake and Parker didn't want to talk perfect. Oh, that's what that mute button's for, baby. If you want to come to Arizona State, there's a few things going for you that we can talk about. We can talk about athletics. We can talk about how beautiful the area is, that you got a short drive to Rocky Top, a short drive to California, to Las Vegas. You can go up to Flagstaff for snow, whatever you want to do. But if you want to talk about the football program, I think it starts and ends with this. Yeah, Kenny Dillingham, one of the youngest coaches in sports, period, just took a 3-win Sun Devils team in his first year there to Big 12 champions, first year in the Big 12 conference. And he did it not with a ton of money, but with a very simple pitch of, hey, do you want to be a part of something? Because we got something going on here. They have a motto that they have. They say something to the extent of, have the most fun working harder than anybody else in the country. And they don't pitch you with Rolexes and $100,000 sports vehicles and stuff like that. They tell you what it is. Hey, you're going to come here. You're going to have to work your you-know-what off. Like, there's nothing that's given to you. Jaden Rashada, 4-star quarterback. If you get beat out by unranked Trenton Bourget, then you get beat out by unranked Trenton Bourget. We're not here trying to build this program based off of the names and the highlights and stuff like that. But now that stuff is starting to come this way because the kids that are those blue chip caliber guys. See how quickly Arizona State turned around. And they go, I want to be a part of that. So suddenly a coaching staff that's recruiting you not to be your best friend, but they're recruiting you to say, hey, we're going to get you in the best situation to prolong your career after this. That's a pretty good catch. Sam Levitt this past month had a little charity event. And some people were asking him, like, hey, you could have entered the transfer portal. Why didn't you? And he said, what's a few $100,000 when you can stay at a program that's getting you ready for the next level? I don't know about you guys. I've never heard a 20-year-old kid say, what's a few $100,000? Like, grand scheme of things, yeah, that's not a big amount of money to an NFL quarterback. But for 30-year-old Richie Bradshaw, what's a few $100,000? Let me tell you, Sam, what a few $100,000 is. That's a lot of bills. That's a lot of groceries. But that's where you've got these kids feeling about ASU right now is, yeah, the money's coming and everything. Everything is starting to culminate there. But right now they're selling this team based off of the prestige of what they can be and how quickly they're getting there. And it's in the ear of these kids.
Them's some compelling words, Mr. Bradshaw. And, somehow you did that whole spiel and didn't rub the Big 12 championship enough in the faces of these two guys.
I was going to say, where's the
they had a head start. BYU got in there 2 years ago, or I don't know. It's all blends together. Houston, you got in there 2 years ago, and Arizona State comes in first season from the Pac-12. RIP. First season is like, you call this a conference?
Mr. King? Nah.
Is this? Yeah, that's right.
I'm your king.
You're Killmonger. Arizona State's Killmonger. Killmonger loses in the end. But anyway, that's those are some good pitches.
He was right. But he was right.
I don't think that's the moral of the movie, actually. I don't think that's how that goes.
Next up on the show with Thanos right coming up.
Oh no, Thanos was right. All I have to do is ride on an airplane to know that Thanos was right.
As somebody just drove across the country, I can tell you right now, Thanos was right.
Trump spent 30 seconds on the internet and said, this whole place has to go.
It's got to go. It's got to go. All right, we're gonna wrap this up with actual football talk. As badly as I want this to descend into a conversation about Marvel movie themes and takeaways, because these guys are then going to debate with open mics, presidential debate style, who's going to have the highest ranked recruiting class in 2026. Look at Parker, looks like he's getting ready for a boxing match. Oh yeah, don't miss that. All right, gloves off, mics on. You guys can battle it out. I might go in the other room, grab a can of lemonade from the fridge, which I do after like every round of golf, when I want to just relax. So I'll let you guys.
Golf courses in Arizona.
What's that?
Nice golf courses out here in Arizona.
I have to, as someone who resides for 8 months out of the year in the great state of Utah, I do have to point out there's a lot of great golf in Utah. Parker, Texas is probably third with golf. I'm sorry, but I don't know how big of a concern that is for college football players. So 2026 recruiting right now in the Big 12, Kansas is number one. They've been there for quite a while, I will point out. We're all sleeping on what Lance Leipold is doing. Then it's ASU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, UCF, Kansas State. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I haven't gotten to Jake and Parker schools yet. And then BYU, TCU, and Houston. So good news for the Cougs of both varieties. You guys are just outside the top half of a 16-team conference. So that's got to feel great right now. But who's finishing with the highest ranked recruiting class in 2026 in the Big 12?
Before we all go for each other's throats, I just want to say that it's really cool that the three new kids on the block of the Big 12 are running this conference. So gentlemen, cheers to us, the kings of the new Big 12.
Okay, now ignite the red wedding already.
let me know when you guys are ready to start contending with the top dog. As Dr. Dre once famously said, You got to jump and swing up to hit me in the knees.
Oh, okay. I like that. Here's the thing. Watch out for this coming weekend. This could be maybe the most pivotal weekend in BYU recruiting history. I'm dead serious about that. I mentioned there's up to 20 different guys that are going to be on campus this weekend, and there's some of them that are already committed that are going to be here, but they can land the guys that think they can land. Speaking of BYU, you're going to see the two Cougars take a major leap, and very well at the end of the day could be at the top Big 12 team in the 2026 cycle if all goes according to plan.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that too and say Houston's having a pretty strong last 10 days or so. It's been a week since Keisan fully committed and declined his other visits. You've seen a bunch of people jump in and take extra visit, take an official visit when they only had an unofficial earlier to Houston. I don't think that's an accident. I also think the thing that we can all agree on here though is every time Tech gets predicted to do well, they don't. Every time Kansas gets predicted to do well, they don't. It's probably not going to end at those two places.
Okay, hold on. The Tech thing, I hear you. I'm going to jump on the train anyway. I've already gotten aboard. I can't get off of it. So it's a runaway train. The Kansas thing, you say every time they've predicted to do
all three.
Predicted to three? What three? Three. It's one. There's one. There's one time where they were predicted. I'm not talking about actually doing well. I'm talking going into the season, people like me or whoever said, oh, Kansas will be good this year.
But, okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
To your point, Richie right below me, they were picked 16th in the preseason poll. They went from last to first last year. BYU, I haven't
heard that.
You hadn't heard that? Okay, well, congratulations.
No, you can tell me again, though.
Well, here's the thing.
Man, I love that.
BYU was 14th and tied for the regular season crown. They had the same record. Obviously, they lost out on the tiebreaker for the Big 12 title game, and BYU went 14th to near the top of the Big 12. And these are two programs that last year the thought was, okay, if they go 6-6, life's great probably for both these programs. Guess what? They're both being talked about as college football playoff contenders. Obviously, Richie and the Sun Devils went last year and came within a whisker, it felt like, of knocking off Texas. I think it would completely change the conversation about certain things, but that's beside the point. The bigger point is these are two programs, and Parker, I think, has got a very good case. The fact that they've got a 5-star quarterback already committed that BYU hopes to have after this weekend. The thing is, these three conferences, or these three programs in this conference, we have aspirations of really running this ship, and there's a decent chance that any one of the three here could end up on top.
Jake, that was really good pronunciation of the word ship. Yeah, really. Yeah, Parker and I are in the same.
We can switch it. No, that was slight shit.
That was clean. That was clean. That was good.
Right
my primary school teacher, Mrs. O'Toole, taught us that when we were speaking to slow down and enunciate.
Yeah.
Enunciate.
Any relation to
commenters?
Wait, what'd you say, Richie?
Nothing. No, go ahead, Parker, please.
Well, I said you sound like my commenters. I was trying to go for the self-deprecation there. I would also point out that as far as making Houston's case for this, if any one of us were to just come in second in our respective state in recruiting, I think Houston wins the Big 12 in recruiting battle right away. If you just said
no, second in Utah don't count for BYU. It's number one or nothing.
But that's what I'm saying though, is that's what you're looking at. And
NAU doesn't recruit.
But that's what I'm saying here is it's a very different contest and competition. Like the way Houston's looking at this is Willie Fritz is not getting on a plane to recruit. If he's got to get on a plane to come get you, you're not getting talked to. And he's still getting these 5- and 4-star kids because that's what we're working with in our backyard. I think that at some point you hear quotes from kids. Richie talked about the quotes from different people, and Sam Levitt turned down money. You're kind of hearing people on the Houston side of things saying, listen, if we're just in the ballpark of the same dollar amount, there's some value in just representing where I'm from for something in the same ballpark. And getting to that ballpark is proving a lot easier than trying to beat them out, I think.
Well, and Parker, to your point, for the BYU, it's more about the representation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There are guys who want to represent that church. They may not be from Utah, but they have affiliation with that faith, and they want to represent that faith, kind of what you're talking about, representing Houston in your hometown. Yeah, there's guys who want to put on for the state of Utah, obviously, but BYU stands for a little bit more because it's a church-affiliated institution. A guy like Ryder Lyons, Folsom, California, has no clear tie to Provo, Utah, outside the fact that Ryder is a member of the church and wants to potentially represent the church.
Richie, would
And
you
it matters.
like to make like John Denver and take me home?
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't ready for that. So.
Let's take us home.
And all of a sudden, it's Mountaineer Paul with a steel chair.
Don't get me started.
Mountaineer ball from the top rope.
He'd be so good at that.
He would be. He would be. Yeah. No.
Locked on Ultimate Wrestling Competition. That Mountaineer Paul would win so quickly and so easily.
Segment 2 Mountain Dew would be a whole lot different.
His dad's prosthetic in one hand to smack you with, like it'd just be phenomenal.
Dude, he would beat us like Kung Fu Panda beat Tai Lung. I mean, it would be glorious. It would be.
We have 4 movies now. How many movies are we at right now?
I missed?
Oh, dude, do you think I can? I have to limit myself on all of my shows. Like I can't just go on. I was this close to. I mean, I'm the executive producer of this show. Technically speaking, I mean, my boss might have said something or whatever, but like I could have gone down the rabbit hole of like, let's talk about the best messages from the Marvel movies. But as long as we tie it to college football, I technically would have been in the purview of my contract.
But Thanos would take out everyone with a cartoon character as their profile picture, right? Like that's a clear cut line.
But Poe had like that
Probably
thing that would just throw Thanos for a loop. So
the whooshy finger hold.
Whooshy.
The whooshy finger hold.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yes, he was not, in fact, bluffing. I am not bluffing when I say we're going to wrap the show there for today. Jake Hatch, locked on BYU. Parker Ainsworth, locked on Houston. Richie Bradshaw, locked on Sun Devils. I'm Spencer McLaughlin. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.